Thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning. And if you're loving my outfit, it's by Catherine Gordon. Yeah, what a way to start the news review, huh? And if you're loving this gentleman's outfit, it's by
Attila Couture.
Attila Couture.
So the name
Couture.
Couture.
Est-ce que vous voulez parler un peu de français ce matin?
Please. Bring me to my local language.
Couture. The French might stress the R, couture.
Okay.
But I mean, couture in English.
See, yeah. In my local language, you say atali, and you go your
way. No. Say cotton, say polyester, say
couture.
Atade. But I repeat, your outfit is lovely.
Thank you. Maybe we have to thank two people. One is a multimedia lady who does the selection.
Mama Harriet. Who is in charge of makeup, costumes, and all of that. Mama Harriet, a very good morning to you. You ensure that we look good.
And then to the tailor who did the work, Attila Couture, and that's how you mentioned, in Dansuman. He's a fantastic young guy he makes me look good, so yeah.
We have to celebrate our own. Some great people out there doing great stuff. But right before we get into the papers.
Yours is beautiful too.
Thank you. I mentioned Catherine Gordon of Catherine Garments. So, courtesy of Harriet, I got this material. And Catherine Gordon fitted me out, you know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm looking more.
It's beautiful.
And then more agenda in here. But in a minute, I'd like you to do this for me right before we get into the papers. What have been your biggest stories this week?
I think my biggest will be one day. I have two. The inflation rate.
Okay.
Over 31%.
So you're talking about the government statistician putting out the inflationary rate for July. Okay.
And then, of course, the LaBianca issue.
All right.
It generated a lot of...
sandstorm, firestorm, windstorm, whatever it is.
Freight forwarders, importers, blah, blah, all speaking on the matter. And it's a huge one, really. Even have you heard the customs boss?
Colonel?
He said,
a small boy. Are you pan? A small boy. Small boys are more about mumwadze. And God is on my side. You know, you remember what he said? God is against us.
When we were in the senior high school, there was a fight between a senior of ours and a junior of ours who were in Form 2. And the boy was in Form 1, our senior was in Form 3. And then my senior said, in my language, he hit the chest and said, this boy is a young boy. He's too small. And then this boy just gave him one slap and then he landed.
But you know, on a more serious note,
oh my goodness,
I feel we're playing with it, we're joking about it, but it's a major problem in our country.
Yeah.
This talk about, you're a small boy. You can't, and it starts right from infancy. You know, we are Kolaka no tum. And Penifo Kasa and Kasebi. We are Perewa. Yes, to some extent, it is good.
Yeah.
But to a large extent, that is why we see people who grew up in the West or in other places very vocal and very expressive and very, they can manage their thoughts. And then we go, it's so nice. But when you do that to the child right from then, how do you expect the child to do that? Yeah. Even when he's thinking anything.
Yeah.
So there are two dimensions to it. And what is this thing about age? The fact that you have gray hair doesn't mean you're a repository of knowledge or intelligence or wisdom. There are a lot of, gray-haired idiots out there. So you cannot say that, because this person is this age. And I feel that is also impacting, just to wrap, that is impacting why even in our constitution, we would put something like, you have to be of this age, 40 and above, before you can be CEO of this country. People have complained in recent times. I saw this bit where people were talking about, how come all our presidents are in their 60s and 70s and all of that? I'm sorry, it's not ageism, but sometimes the ideas, you need fresh blood in there. Look at France, look at the Scandinavian countries, look at New Zealand, look at Croatia, look at them, Sweden, and all of these are very young leaders, 30-something.
Finland too.
30-something. They're doing great things. How come we've stuck ourselves in this, web where it must be elderly people, and then we denigrate. Kisia Jabeng, I'm not saying that I'm taking sides on this. He's a former lecturer of mine, but I feel that if he feels that what he is doing is the right way to go, he shouldn't be cowed into submission by
and of course, once
I totally felt those
he's a special prosecutor.
Exactly.
Nobody can say he's a young boy and so he shouldn't do what he's doing. So for us, he's doing what lies within his power. It's not about age. It's about whether you're doing the right thing or not. So, and then he's still sticking to his guns. He says, I'm going to expand this whole thing. So let's see.
Aswati.
Efia. Efia, no.
All right, let's get into the papers.
Let's start with the Ghanaian Times. Now, on the front page, it says, Ghana poised to produce COVID-19 vaccines. First batch to be turned out early 2024. It comes with a picture of the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman Menu there. Ghana Health Service to vaccinate high-risk groups against monkeypox. Comes with a picture of Dr. Patrick.
Which are those high-risk groups? Please give us some details.
Okay, so let me just get down with it.
Okay, so
Gamashi begins Homo Festival today. Now, let's get into the details of the story and then see what we would have for you. Now, the Ghana Health Service has hinted of a possible vaccination against monkeypox among high-risk groups identified in the country. Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje said this. He said health authorities were closely monitoring the rate of spread, extent of risk within the populace, among other factors, for a final determination. The risk groups, and if we see a particular group at high risk, I think probably they are not trying to give more details about who and who are high risk, because you know how Ghanaians behave.
Right.
When we tend to point a finger at this person, then
there'll be a stereotype and all that.
I think they are trying to cover it up. But the story has details about the regions that have had, infections and all of that. So you can grab that paper and then go through it. But there's also a story in the graphic that I'm interested in on page 7. It says Ghana Central Municipal Assembly pulls down illegal structures on waterways.
Oh, that's
great.
Yeah.
Now, the Ghana Central Municipal Assembly has embarked on a demolition exercise to pull down all illegal structures erected on waterways in the area. The exercise, led by the Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Bashiru Mohammed Kamara, together with the Assembly's task force, pulled unauthorized structures situated around Antieku, Santa Maria. Okay, so I think it should be Santa Maria. Anya and its environs. The MC said the exercise followed directives from the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, instructing all MMDCs in the Greater Accra region to demolish all structures that cause flooding in the city.
That's interesting, because it's just yesterday that, the Ghana Water Company Limited, I was interacting with their PRO, Director of Communications, Stanley Mata, and he was talking about the situation where there are also, as part of what is causing them to lose about 50% of revenue from what water they produce, it has to do with buildings situated on waterways and all of that affect their equipment. So it's interesting that at least in one community, we have this drive going on.
Yeah,
it's very important.
But what this should tell the assemblies is that don't wait for someone to put up a structure in an unauthorized place for you to then come later to destroy it. Because I think that once we allow this to go on, it will get to a point where you realize that you cannot do anything because of the number of structures there. So why are the assemblies not...
Why wait?
Yes, not tackling the issue.
It's better to tackle a disease before it gets you bedridden.
So really, it's a good move, but I wish the assemblies can be more proactive. Look at this. They are doing it because the president says. So if the president had not directed them to do it, it means that...
And we remember in recent times, on the back of some flooding incidents, when Mr. President had to intervene and say, look, I charge you to go and do this. But did we need the charge of the president? That is their purview anyway. That is their responsibility.
Exactly. And if people are building per law, they have to come for permit from the assemblies.
But sometimes these very people who are given permits, later you see the AMA, KMA and others come and inscribe on them. You check and you find out that initially they were given permits. How does that even work?
Corruption. Some people took monies here and there and then gave their permit at the blind side of someone. But now I'm told that the law has made it such that it's a committee that has to give it. And the committee is made up of the land use and special land use authority. It has the fire service, I think, the police. It has a lot of people together with the MC. And so there's no way it should, people, but probably these things happened before that particular law came into force.
Right.
So we are looking at a situation where maybe we don't have to be seeing these things going forward, because it's not just an individual who is giving out the permit,
Right.
but a group of people. Let's see how this leads out. Anyway.
Right. Do we have any other news you'd like to tackle?
I think these are.
Is there any sporting news on the back page?
We didn't start on a good news, but on a good note. But yeah,
the Black Princesses.
Yes, U.S.
Thumped
Hammer
3-0.
Princesses in Group D opener.
But their captain, is injured. Is it Evelyn Bedu or something of the sort?
Oh.
She suffered a freak injury right on the cusp of, I think training or something. I'm not too sure about the details, but I saw her.
The former
her leg in the
Hazaka's
race.
ladies.
I think so.
Oh,
I think so.
my goodness.
And that was really sad because
Yes.
she's the captain. She's the talisman of the side.
And she could have done a lot.
She could have done a lot.
That girl
I feel we could have pulled a goal back at least against the Americans.
That girl, when you have a striker who is deadly in front of goal,
Right.
what it does is that
it pins down the opposition defense.
So the
and all of
opposition
that.
cannot.
They can't flow.
But and that's why you need. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo is vital to Man U, but we can't say it because of his.
Man, you should come for me. Omu me bob that Charlie. The way they do it.
Won't turn 9 Daminia. Anyway, so that's it. The US.
Why are you doing this?
You've never played football before, have you?
Me.
Uh-huh.
Those days they called me David Beckham.
Oh, okay. Anyway. One day we'll arrange a football match between
Togo,
Joy FM and then Adum FM. We'll see what kind
about linguistic contest. Now the miracle.
Anyway,
let's
so US, I think the goal, it was 3-0.
3-0. They scored 2 in the first half and another one in the second.
Anyway, yeah.
Let's get into the Daily Guide. NDC shuns youth. That story on page 3. I'll give you snippets of that. Wenchi records 330 pregnancies in first half. Police gunned down suspected robber, electrician, radio presenter nabbed for meter theft. Hey, radio presenter also show me. Ayo. So that's it. But the big one, Aswading, Aswading, Aswading. We'll build National Cathedral. Story on page 3. All right. So let me bring you some of those details. The opposition, the one that talks about the NDC shunning youth, the opposition NDC says it will not participate in this year's International Youth Day celebrations. According to the youth wing of the NDC, there is nothing to celebrate and feels the youth need not to participate in the International Day celebration, which is recognized worldwide. It said the only thing that was worth celebrating was the tenacity, resilience, and the tolerance of the youth in the face of extreme and justifiable provocation. International Youth Day is an awareness day designated by the UN and commemorated every year on August 12. And so that is why the paper, the Daily Guide, says NDC shuns youth. Anyway, I don't know whether the caption matches the story, but that's the story by Vincent Kubi. Okay. And then let's get into that story. We'll build National Cathedral. The Secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral, Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, has said the board members are determined in constructing the National Cathedral in spite of the odds. He has consequently refuted reports that some members of the board have resigned. Quote, no National Cathedral board member has resigned or is ready to resign. We're even stronger now and resolute that this cathedral will be built at all costs, he said at a press conference in Kumasi yesterday. According to Reverend Boateng, the Board of Trustees has been transparent in its dealings and oversight, explaining that the General Overseer of the International Central Gospel Church, Pastor Mensa Otabil, declined to join the board when he was approached. Okay. So I guess there's some clarity on Dr. Mensa Otabil, or Pastor Mensa Otabil. But who was it that I was speaking to yesterday apart from Nana Oye, I think I spoke to her about the National Cathedral. There was someone I spoke to yesterday about, yes, Priscilla Chumesi. Mm-hmm. Priscilla Chumesi, economist at the University of Ghana. She was talking about, the state of our economy and all of that. And I asked her, look, do we need a national cathedral at this time? She said, for political reasons, but she eventually came to it and said, it's not a priority. Mm-hmm. $547 million. I'll not stop doing this because guess what? I just look at what it could do for us. Do you know that could practically solve the flooding situation in Accra and save us many multiples of that, many billions of dollars in the next 3 years by 2025. So if we're expending that kind of money on a national cathedral, where we don't see, how do we say it in Chi?
A home for so.
No, not necessarily that. You don't see the start, you don't see the end, you don't know how it will end up. For me, I have forecast that project likely would not even be completed before this administration's tenure is over. If they win power, okay. But even then, with someone else in that seat, who knows whether it will be continued as the current president is pushing it. If another administration comes into power, that's a whole new ballgame. Some have said turn it into a university and all of that. But I feel the stance of all the things, 547 million, seed money of 25 million, more than some sectors are getting in our economy. The people, most of the people, for me, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 say, we don't need this right now. You're going to the IMF. Initially 1.5 billion, now 3 billion. That's about what? 1/6 of that sum, or 1/5. And you're willing to pump that into a national cathedral? I don't know.
Initially, we were told it was going to be built by, the churches. Then,
have you looked at the contributions that have come in so far? Have you taken a look at them?
Yes, and then government itself started pumping money. Monies that when we were crying that we needed monies to do other things, and that's why this whole thing has generated this whole discussion. Yesterday, I saw the CEO of the cathedral saying that we have politicized the whole thing, and that's why contributions are not coming in. He was appealing to the church to say, look, bring it in. Let's put up this structure. But I think the whole, how we started and how we were crawling, and then all of a sudden we tried to fly, that has really created this whole disaffection for the thing. Because else, if it was going to be built by the churches, I wouldn't have a problem with it if the churches were putting that. But when we knew that government was churning our meager resources into that, that's where the whole thing started. So government could have, been more plain with us. That could have brought in the buy-in into this project. But when they sort of covered a lot of things up, that's when a lot of citizens said, well.
Oh, well. It is what it is. Let me just wrap with some 2 stories and we're done. I'll begin covering my body, Ekuapem Polo. So what is she saying? She says she would no longer be wearing skimpy dresses as a result of her decision to convert to the Islamic faith. And in an Instagram video on Wednesday, she said she had converted because of her son, who is a Muslim, by his Muslim father. Quote, as sexy Polo, you will see me go sexy. I will cover myself in clothes, but my sexy body will be exposed. That is what you don't like. You hate to see my cute, sexy body, but I am sexy, she stated. Anyway. And there's, our very own Kobe Spike Nkrumah.
Hey, yo.
Our in-house tech.
Yes, that guy is a great
So
guy.
Samsung has introduced, have you heard? It's a Galaxy Z Flip 4 and Galaxy Z Fold 4. 4 is out. Hey, no propaganda. I said very crazy. And our very own Kobe Spike Nkrumah was there. You can see him, right?
Yeah, I can.
With his,
I mean, you cannot talk about technology without him.
Yeah.
He's a solid guy in that sphere. So yeah.
And in sports, Kotoko Grab, Cameroonian keeper. Which local team do you support again?
Asante Kumasi Asante.
Asante Kotoko.
Aside my regional teams.
Yeah. Those days when Voradep was there and at least you gives them some. All right, it's done with the Daily Guide newspaper.
So let's do the Daily Statesman now. And Mofa takes delivery of machinery to aid farming. It says, as part of effort aimed at supporting farmers and strengthening the agro-processing sector in the country, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Afriyie Akoto, has commissioned modern, sophisticated farm machinery to enhance operations of farmers in the country. The deal to enhance agriculture through mechanization came as a facility from the Brazilian government in the sum of $96 million. This is good because we need machines to modernize agric. And I've said that over the years, since my senior high school days to the university when I was studying agric, all that we're being taught about agric mechanization. Mechanization can bring us A, B, C, D, and we've done this project, we've done that, but practically on the ground, there was little to show for. So I've heard in budget where we say we're going to build up regional mechanization centers, but you go to the regions and you find nothing. So it's good we are trying to make these machines available. Machines will come in, but how it will be made available to the farmers is one thing we need to look at. Their maintenance is one thing we need to look at. Look, the rice industry alone needs a lot of machinery to make it work. Do we have that? So we need to do targeting.
And if we don't, how are we, putting in place policies? What are we doing about the situation?
So I hope that this one will be a start to something that would let us have these sort of, regional mechanization centers where a farmer can go in there and rent a machine for his farming activities after it's returned. But also we need to caution those who will be, managing those machinery. Because we've been in a country where we'll bring a machine today, but 2-3 years down the line, it will be broken down, lying somewhere. So these are things we need to look at.
I feel part of it as well is that we don't also implement. Yes, mechanization, agric mechanization is a good thing, but we have homegrown systems, local systems that sometimes we completely ignore. I don't know, but my history tells me about back then, the Shadoof in Egypt, ancient Egypt, okay? We learned about it in history way back. These things you don't find in our curricula anymore. We don't even know about hieroglyphics and all of that. But recently I was watching this TED talk by a Nigerian, PhD holder. And she was talking about, I forget whether it's the TASA system. I think it's in Niger. A homegrown system where, because the land is so barren, okay, it's basically desert land and all of that. They drill these holes 6 meters by 6 meters. When it rains, it accumulates and feeds the crops. And these are yielding way more results than even other systems. You get it? Or places where they did not have them. I think the cultivation of millet was about 11, kg per hectare where it wasn't being used, and about 540 something where it was used. So you see these differences. Even in telling our story, we don't use homegrown stuff. And part of why we are where we are, whether it's our economy, whether it's whatever it is because we adopt wholesale. So democracy, for example, government of the people, by the people, for the people. How have we Ghanaianized it in our context?
No.
India
We just
has democracy, but they have a specific way that they're going about democratic practice.
Okay.
Australia has same. Here is just wholesale. Adopt it, bring it in, and don't even integrate it properly.
Yeah.
That is why we're suffering. That is why we can have a top-heavy executive like we have now without any proper, because we don't even have a homegrown Ghanaian concept of what our democracy should look like.
So my advice to the Ministry of Agric will be that, yes, bring in the machines, but ensure that they are maintained well. I went to Somanya and I saw an agric mechanization center. I was like, wow. And the place has been left. It's been abandoned, really. I was like, how can we have such a facility here and we've closed it down, nothing is working there. So it's good we are bringing in the machines. But please, the Agric Ministry should ensure that these machines are maintained well. We shouldn't come 5 years down the line and hear that these machines that are being brought in around $96 million lying fallow somewhere without being used. That would be a heartbreaking story. But it's good. We'll be keeping an eye on that one. But let me bring a story that we did. I traveled to America where there's a company that is winning sand and is polluting the environment. Happy to note that minister has cautioned against sand winning. We are told.
You mean the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources?
Yes.
Right.
The Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, responsible for lands and forestry, Benito Usubio, has cautioned individuals and groups winning sand on portions of Amrehia dairy farmland in the Adentan municipality of the Greater Accra region to, as a matter of urgency, halt such illegalities. He stressed that anyone caught in the act or aiding and abetting others will be arrested and prosecuted. So it's good he's spoken. We'll keep an eye to see whether they are doing exactly what he says. Because in Ghana, we love to talk, but we don't.
We'll talk there. We are the best in the world.
So it's good he said it.
Yeah.
That will give us a basis to go and monitor whether those things are happening. Because when I went there and I saw how they are, winning sand on the farmland, I was like, what? And nobody can talk because everybody is afraid. So it's good a minister has spoken. But because someone is afraid that when he or she speaks,
you'll be targeted.
Exactly.
Victimized.
But we can't use that to build a country. And that's what we need to learn from. So it's good that Minister has spoken. It will give us the impetus to go there to say, how is it now? What is the situation now? Are they still doing it? And then we can alert them. Minister, you said ABC. Go there again and see what is happening. So we would want to see more action and less talk. But it's good he's spoken. We'll go there and monitor.
Ayo.
Yeah. Let's
That story is also captured in the Finder newspaper.
Okay.
But let's get into Republic Press first.
also even in the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Right. Yeah. So, Bono region, pastor detained with human parts. You read that story earlier during the AM news about some people with mental incapacity, women, who are being raped first of all, then killed, and their body parts removed. This trend is becoming, now we have what? A pastor detained with human parts. The story is on page 4. Where is our country going? Where is our country going? I mean, the Chira police in the Bono region have detained a 45-year-old self-described preacher being found in possession of human remains at Buako Nkwanta. Evangelist Elijah, I was not friend who evangelist,
and then Elijah.
The culprit was arrested following a tip from a neighbor who was concerned about his preaching activities. According to sources, the arrest was confirmed by the assembly member, Honorable Mustafa Musa. Honorable Musa claimed that the suspect lives alone outside of the neighborhood. He returns to bed in the evening after preaching, and there's more. But these stories are really, really, really sad.
Is it a penchant to get rich quicker than
obviously
the normal time? Or what is really the motivating factor here?
We have some social, cultural, economic disconnect or dislocation. Everyone wants to get rich quick, but partly I blame our leaders, especially our political leaders. You know why?
No.
They've created this system where you see them basking in wealth, in the largesse of the state, in the V8s and blowing money large and, taking people's wives and girlfriends. I know what I'm talking about, trust me. And when young people see that in a system where the picture is painted that you can get rich without working hard to get there, then they who
created a picture that you can get rich without working hard? The politicians.
What is the fastest way in this country to make money? Politics.
But it gets
so it's a systemic problem. We've created it over time, over the decades, and now we've got to the point where we are reaping what we've sown.
But if that is the case, that is supposed to be the case, then why don't you enter politics and become rich?
Yeah, because it's not everyone who will want to do that. So the person is thinking, let me also find, I mean, we're not justifying what is going on. It is inhumane and it is absurdly, egregiously criminal. But we must call a spade a spade.
Yeah, but I feel for this one, we cannot really tie it down with politics per se.
I'm saying that the example, sometimes when they see the ostentatiousness,
then you get
how
into
they
politics.
flaunt
you
wealth.
Don't go and kill people.
But not everyone would want to go into politics. Me, I'm a student of politics, international politics, languages, and all of that. I would have loved to play some role. But when I look at Ghanaian politics and how we do it, it doesn't excite me. I would rather do international politics, maybe with the UN and other such organizations. But politics is incredibly dirty.
But when someone musters the courage to kill another, I feel that it is not about someone motivating you or you are motivated by someone's lifestyle to go and kill someone. It is your personal decision and you should be personally responsible for it.
Before we arrive at these personal decisions, and that brings me to my next point.
Okay.
Content on our televisions and radio as well.
That I may agree with you. That
you remember the Kasua, the 10-year-old
or
so?
Yes.
Yeah, some people say technically not Kasua, but all of these, there are linkages. Let me tell you. The ostentation I am talking about, how some of our leaders flaunt wealth. Wealth that we know, I mean, Asamesi, when not in power, was like this, had this. In power, 1 year, 2 years. I mean, some of the things we talk about them, you don't speak ill of the dead, but look, Sir John, over a certain period, what he accumulated within months, if you were Charlie.
Yeah.
How did you come by those?
Yes, but
when people see that,
yes, it's
it
true.
affects.
But that's what I'm saying. That
And then with all these people
but you know,
doing
Ben,
things on TV and
do
radio,
you know that?
Do you think it doesn't
there are
have an
these-
effect?
There are these young guys who are not politicians who are living affluent lifestyles in their community.
There too, we should be questioning them, but
Yes.
the system is failing to do that. You should be able to say, but you, what work do you do that all of a sudden you are driving in a Range Rover? I see them all the time. Young people. What can I do? And what will I say? You mind your business. Anyway, the story of the customs boss is also here. They say he goes haywire. Reshuffling ministers won't solve Ghana's problems. Kwejum Pieni says so. But he actually also says that we need to really look at it. So I don't know which angle they took it from, but it's both sides. And then even if you cut our thumbs, we'll vote for MPP without our tongue. With our tongue. But Kwabre is chief. And he bemoans some of the lack of development there. But he also says that, well, I said they belong to the MPP. So forever.
They would vote.
That's how I'll wrap. Maybe a final story from you and then we can move.
Well, from the Ghanaian publisher, it says, sack non-performing ministers. It is not about reshuffling. Majority leader tells president.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I feel some
You don't
ministers,
reshuffle,
some
you sack
ministers should have gone a long time ago.
Yeah. But the
Some are doing well. Others should have gone a long
But
time
the
ago.
president doesn't look like someone who wants to reshuffle or sack anybody. Let's see, maybe he will change his
But
mind.
that brings me to my final point. Akufo-Addo as an opposition leader and how he came across as Barack Obama said, we don't need strong men, we need strong institutions. But how he came across as that strong personality who would be able to, in all of these instances, it's been a no-show for me. I don't see that.
Really?
As a strong personality. Maybe you can take it from the standpoint of, I feel maybe it's the opposition and others
No,
trying to
maybe
get me
he
to
also- he
reshuffle,
also-
so I'm going to maintain my stance. But in some of the instances that he's done that, like he together with the finance minister, IMF, and we are there, aren't we?
Yeah, so maybe, let's see, because of the pressure coming in, he may decide to change his mind. Let's see how the days go.
But I'll just share with you this bit because you can expect it in a few minutes. Can you guess where I'm headed this morning as far as my blunt thoughts are concerned?
I don't do guess games because they are difficult to do.
Ghana in mediocrity's chokehold. How the standards
Have fallen.
Look forward to that one. But up next, we serve you sports. Right after that, I'll be coming on your screens with my blunt thoughts. Hot. Stay.